No. There we go. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for coming. What a great crowd. This is awesome. And we got the weather, so this is really great to see everybody. Yeah. Finally, everybody's getting together for some change, much needed change in this province. So, but on that note, before the candidates get a chance to talk to you and John arrives, I'm Mary and I'm the E-Day chair. I've been tasked with talking to everybody about things we need to win a campaign, which is primarily money and volunteers. So on that note, there's two things. Now, we're having a fundraiser with John at the Port Moody Legion after. This one's a little bit rich, and I know a lot of people won't want to contribute quite that much. It's $500, but you get two people in for that. So if you feel that you would like to donate $500, you can come to the fundraiser for John at the Port Moody Legion at 7 o'clock. And if not, every donation helps, whether it's $5, $25, $100. So if you have anything you can spare and you want to donate to one of our local candidates who could really use the support, and because signs cost money and door knockers cost money and brochures cost money. So anything anyone can do to help would be much, much appreciated. And of course, the second most important thing, well, they're actually equally important, is volunteers. Now, I know quite a few of you have already agreed to volunteer, but if you are not signed up already, especially for Election Day, we need lots of bodies to go out and remind people to get out and vote. And keep an eye on the polls and just do various tasks around the office. So Vera is here with a clipboard, and she will come and see you, or you can go see her if you can spare some time on Election Day next Saturday, or on the Friday. We're going to be doing some stuff too. So if you're free, that would be absolutely fantastic. So on that note, I'm going to introduce you to your first candidate. Oh, sorry, I also should have mentioned all of their brochures inside have a QR code on them. So if you do want to donate, you can just get their brochure and scan the QR code. So I'm going to introduce our first candidate, which is Nadeli, and she's from New Westminster, Coquitlam.
Thank you, Marion. Hello, Tri-Cities! So excited to be here today. Wow, what an historic moment in our province. We're on the brink of change, and I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Ndeli Masay. I am the BC Conservative candidate for New Westminster Coquitlam, and I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself. So I immigrated from South Africa in 2011, and Canada for me held the future, the hope of a better future when it came to standard of living, access to healthcare, and safety. You see, my experience in South Africa was very different. I was exposed to crime, and I saw the negative effect that crime had on my friends and my community. And it became increasingly unsafe to walk on the street. So I moved to Canada, and I moved to British Columbia in 2014. Well, after 7.5 years of this BC NDP government, my hope has been eroded. The cost of living is high. Our healthcare system is broken. It's unsafe to be on the street, especially for a single woman like me. And this is not what I signed up for. I've been spending time knocking on doors and meeting the wonderful people in our community right where they live in their homes. And the stories and the frustration is very similar to mine. I hear stories of residents wanting to leave our beautiful province because they cannot afford the cost of living anymore. I hear stories of small businesses with costs of operating their businesses that increase so much due to vandalism and theft that they're considering closing their businesses. I have the story of a mother whose son has been trying to get off drugs, but is constantly surrounded by the so-called safe supply and has no access to treatment. And this is not acceptable. So at the end of the day, we have a choice. We have a choice to bring change in British Columbia. And there's never been a more ripe moment than right now. And that's why I'm running with John Rastad and the Conservative Party of BC to bring common sense change in British Columbia. Awesome. I'm going to introduce you to my colleague, Keenan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Keenan Adams. I'm the Port Coquitlam candidate for the BC Conservatives. If you guys want change, let's put up our hands and yell, "Go Blue! Go Blue!" You know, what I really like about the BC Conservatives is the grassroots. You know, I'm a union man, train engineer. We've got business owners. We've got everyone here. We're here because we want to be here, you know, and we want change and we want the province back. Well, we're getting close, everybody. Let's do it. Let's go out and vote. Let's get our friends and family out to vote. These guys, pardon me, we've had enough of the government's overreach, the high cost of living, the chaos and drugs in our streets. Well, one thing, we're going to be cutting the carbon tax. We need to get the energy prices down so all the prices go down and people's quality of life goes up. We will end the NDP's soft on crime policies and reclaim our communities. We will have a smaller government, and the wasteful spending should be cut and the savings returned to the taxpayers. I think together we can do this. And together, no more division, just a wonderful British Columbia, a better British Columbia. Thank you very much. And let's say it one more time. Go Blue! Go Blue! Now I'd like to pass this over to Carrie. Please come on up.
Wow, how can I do better than that? That's awesome. My name is Carrie Van Asweg, and I'm running in the Port Moody Burquitlam riding. And I also come from South Africa. Came 30 years ago for a better life, for myself, for my children. And you know what? I came for a dream. They called it the North American dream, but it's actually a North America, as in the whole continent. But you know what? I've watched that dream go away and diminish and get further away. Whether you are born in Canada or whether you are an immigrant, that dream is no longer there. We are all struggling. We are all looking for the better life. We don't have the services anymore. We don't have the schools that we needed to. I came here. One of the reasons and one of the things we chose Canada for was the education. That is not there anymore. We need to get our education to our children back. We need to get our hospitals and our staff in the hospitals back so that we can actually go to a doctor and have a doctor. I have been doing a lot of door knocking and talking to a lot of people. And you know what the big thing that's come out is this government and the MLAs that they have are not representing the people. I would like to be a different kind of MLA. I would like to represent our riding. I want to be the voice of our riding in Victoria. I want to help people resolve their problems. And I want to help get our BC back that I came to, because this is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I don't want people to leave because they can't afford to live here. So I'm looking forward to working for everybody, and let's get this wave across BC and make the change we need. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce you to my colleague, Hamed.
Hi, how are we doing? How is the blue wave? Let's go blue! Go blue, go! Awesome, awesome. I'm Hamed Najafi. I'm the MLA candidate representing Coquitlam Millardville. See, thank you. Yeah, so how did my journey start here? 2004, I just came here with all hope and, hoping for a good future. And 20 years ago, I came to Coquitlam, called Coquitlam my home. And since then, all my Canada life has been in this Coquitlam. Yeah, but this Coquitlam is not anything like what I came to. Not even close. People that come here now, they don't even have hope. Forget about thinking of, affording, making a family and all those, they don't. And how my journey started with politics. I was an I say I was, and then I corrected. I'm still an electronic engineer. And how I came here is I came as a skilled worker. All my credentials were approved when I was coming, before I come, so I could come as a skilled worker. When I came here, it didn't work. So it doesn't count. So I started from scratch. So I know the pain that a lot of educated people come with to this country, and they have to go through so many hoops. Thank you. And how did my career start with politics? Of course, I had so many jobs, and I finally got my first job as a technician. And then from there, I become regional manager, director, all those kind of things. And I did get my license in real estate. I have all licenses in real estate: strata management, rental management, sales, and all those. And I built a little bit of wealth just so I'm okay. But the way that the things are going, I don't think I will be okay. And my children, and I'm sure your children, cannot afford and have the hope that they used to. That's why I'm running. Really, what got me into this is really my friend, Stephen, who I was his volunteer. This is how everything started.
You're the best volunteer.
Yeah. He is who encouraged me. And to be very upfront, I didn't think at all I'm going to be a politician. But with helping him and going and seeing all the doors, I saw people have pain. And their pain is the same as mine. When I say people, I am one of those people. So when we were talking, the cost of living has gone to the roof. Nothing you can, like people I talk, they cannot afford the food. They are home poor. Whatever they have it from the past. No one can afford. If they get out, they cannot go in anymore. So I'm just going to go like I didn't prepare any speech. I just thought, okay, whatever comes from the heart sinks in their hearts. So that is how I connected with people. And when I saw those pains, I started running. Now, a couple quick things from our really priorities. We want to scrap the carbon tax. X the carbon tax. Let's make it affordable. Right? We don't need extra tax. Right? So that will, tell me what is not dependent on transportation. Even the fuel is dependent on transportation. So you get tax over tax. So let's scrap it right away. Yeah. Okay. The second priority, our healthcare is broken. Yeah? Anyone who agrees, just raise the hand. There we go. There we go. So there are multiple things, of course, we want to bring. Like my wife is a healthcare worker. So she is daily going to community, trying to help people. But the system is broken, and they don't allow people like her do the help that they need to do. Lots of bureaucracy, lots of red tapes. And now we are using, we have decriminalization, right? So they allowed even people to go and do the drugs and all those in where we need to have people and take care of them. So we want to criminalize it. We don't want this, and all that is causing is bringing us the crime. Who feels like the crime has risen? It has risen all over. I don't know, you guys have been to Gordon Avenue, right? We didn't have a Gordon Avenue. We didn't have Tent City, right? So those are the things that we are going to wipe. And one other thing, and the most important, is we have a lot of waste in our tax systems. So we want to get rid of that. Okay? So I'm just going to say, let's go blue. Let's have this wave going. Let's have all our friends, and let's do it together. We need your help to be able to do it. Okay? Awesome. Go blue, go. Go blue, go. Go blue, go. Go blue, blue. Go blue. And let's go blue. I don't know, John is here or? Okay. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our next Premier of BC, John Rostad. Go!
All right. How are you guys doing tonight? Oh, you can do better than that. How are you doing tonight? Are you ready to turn BC blue? Tell you, we're going around the province and we're getting lots of people engaged just like this, grassroots movement around the province. It is really remarkable to see. And, you know, the energy is really something. And I got to tell you just a quick little story here before we get into things. I was over having breakfast, or having actually lunch in Vancouver at a little pub, and there's two guys there that came in and they said they had been lining up at 8 o'clock in the morning on the first day of advanced polling to go out and vote for us. And they just could not wait to be able to cast their vote. We have seen record turnout now, and day after day after day now on advanced polling, and I know exactly what that means. People are hungry for change. Are you guys wanting to see change? That's what we're going to be able to deliver for British Columbia. And it is, you know, you look at what David Eby's doing and the damage it's doing. I mean, can anybody say that anything is better after 7 years? I mean, it's nothing, absolutely nothing. And we've got people dying on our streets from crime, from drugs. Our healthcare system is collapsing. Our economy is in shambles. Our debt and deficit are in shambles. And he's saying, oh, but it's complicated. It's not complicated. All we have to do is get some common sense back into this government, get some common sense back into British Columbia. And I tell you how we're going to do it. We're going to do it by electing the candidates that we have here, and the candidates like this right across the province. These guys and ladies are working hard every day. They're going out, connecting with people, fighting hard, because they believe, like I do, that you should be electing somebody to represent a riding, not electing a party to represent somebody to you. These guys are going to fight hard. I can promise you that. And I can tell you, should we have that arm form of government, these guys are going to work harder than I think they've ever worked in their life, because there is so much that needs to be done. But I know they're up to the task, so thank you guys for stepping up the plate and running for us. So let's just bring some common sense back to see. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of decriminalization, get rid of the drugs off our street, and get rid of the safe supply. All it is doing is destroying lives. We're going to bring that to an end. We're going to make sure in our healthcare system that we hire back our heroes. We're going to get rid of the mandates and get rid of all these silly restrictions that are put on there. And you know, we've got our health officer in British Columbia, the top health official in British Columbia. She goes off to Ottawa and she says that we should be doubling down on decriminalization, and we should be making safe supply available in our grocery stores for people just to go in and pick up. Absolutely crazy. And I tell you what, the damage that is doing in BC is unbelievable. So she will not be working for a Conservative government. I can promise you that. We're also going to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that people can afford to live in this province. And so that's why we're going to scrap the carbon tax. That'll put $1,200 into the pocket of the average family in British Columbia as soon as they drop a federal writ, so we can get rid of this thing and put that money back into people's pockets in British Columbia. But we got to make sure that there's a federal RIP that's dropped first, because if we don't, they might implement their tax. And I can tell you, getting rid of a federal tax is a lot harder than it is getting rid of a provincial tax. So we got to make sure we do this right so that they can't come in and mess things up here for British Columbia. On top of that, with affordability, and my staff wanted to call it this, we're going to implement what's called the Rustad rebate, which is up to $3,000 a month for your rent or your mortgage or your strata fees that you're going to be able to apply for a tax credit. That'll be equivalent to about $1,800 a year for people in British Columbia in terms of savings. So between the two, that is close to $3,000. That is the largest tax relief that households will have seen in BC's history. But you know, there's something more that we need to talk about too, and that's what's going on our streets with crime. I hear it from businesses and from community people. People don't feel safe walking downtown anymore. Businesses are struggling with product walking out the door. Even people like Save On Foods is having to hire 345 security guards around the province because they need to protect their staff. And this is just wrong. So we need to bring an end to this the cycling of crime that's just going on in our streets. Police are telling me that 20% of the people committing crimes are doing 80% of the crimes. So we're going to make sure that we do some changes here. We're going to push, first of all, federal for changes to the bail reform. We're going to push for guaranteed minimum sentencing for these prolific offenders. We need to get them off our streets. But if Ottawa won't change what needs to happen, what we will do in British Columbia, well, actually, even if Ottawa does change it, we're going to make sure that we actually fix the problems in British Columbia. We're going to hire more judges, we're going to hire more sheriffs, and we're going to put a court system in place for these prolific offenders so that we can get them into the courts within a week or two. Enough of this 18-month wait. Get these people off our streets. But when it comes to things like serious crimes in British Columbia, these prolific offenders that have multiple charges, that have committed serious crimes, often with weapons, these people need to be taken off our streets. And I tell you, there was a story, and I've told this many times, but a story with the Dunn family in Surrey. And there was a prolific offender with weapons charges, well known to the police, and this individual was led back out and killed their daughter. And I tell you, no parent should ever have to bury their child. And so these people need to be taken off our streets. So what we will do is if the justice system cannot deal with these people, then we'll deal with it under the Mental Health Act. If somebody's at risk of harming themselves or others, they can be held and treated and not released until they're no longer a risk to society. And I can tell you something. We will likely get a Section 7 charter challenge that says that we're taking away their rights. But I look at it this way. What about the rights of the average everyday citizen in this province that's just trying to go to work, that's just trying to live their life? What about the rights of the kids to be able to go out and play in the street and be safe? What about their rights? That is what we need to protect. And so if we're going to get challenged and we cannot win, or if we don't win this thing in court, we will use the notwithstanding clause because these people need to be taken off our streets. I want to talk for just a minute about addictions because we're seeing so much with drugs and what's going on in our streets, and so many people have lost their lives to an overdose. There's a monument up in Campbell River that has one small blue flag planted in the ground for every boy and man who's lost their life. 12,000 flags in BC. And more are being added every month. And this is just unacceptable. You know, last year there was just over 5,700 people that died from an overdose in Canada. And close to 2,500 of those were in British Columbia. Close to half of the people in the country. Clearly what we're doing is absolutely wrong. So we're going to build out significant recovery, everything from short-term recovery, doctor-prescribed treatment, to longer-term recovery. But one of the things that I'm most proud about what we're going to do is we're going to introduce what we call involuntary compassionate treatment. And what I mean by that is if you have an 11-year-old daughter who is addicted, any parent would want to do everything they can to try to make sure that child gets clean and gets an opportunity to build a future. In British Columbia today, if that child does not want to go into treatment, as a parent, you have no options. There's nothing you can do in British Columbia except perhaps take out a second mortgage and send them south of the border for treatment. And I think that's wrong. I think British Columbia needs to have the ability for parents to be able to do everything they can for their children right here in British Columbia. And so we had a we had a meeting with the DeSoto family, and there was a case where Christian, he was 13 when he first became addicted. The teachers knew about it and didn't tell the parents. And it was later the parents found out about it, and they struggled with the system for years, trying to get help for their son in and out of treatment and stuff. And eventually, unfortunately, the son passed away from an overdose. So in honor of Christian, we're going to name it the Christian's Law, which will be a law in place so that parents have the ability to be able to treat their child, to make sure that to give them the best opportunity they can to be able to recover right here in British Columbia. You know, today we announced something else as well. You know, I love seeing the geese because, believe me, when I'm at home, I often have geese in my front yard, especially during the summer and the spring, and I love seeing them fly south. But I always look at it, though, and I just think about all those geese flying south. They're heading south to the border. Just like 1/3 of British Columbians under David Eby, they want to leave this province, and that is just wrong. We got to change that, ladies and gentlemen. In any case, just today, I was at a food bank, a community kitchen that is being run in Surrey. And the community kitchen has lost its funding, and by December 12th, it's going to have to close down. And it serves about 200 meals a day to people who are desperately in need of it. And I just look at it and I think this is something that government should have the compassion to be able to help for these people that are in need. And so we're going to make sure that we have ongoing funding, annual funding that goes in place to be able to support food banks and kitchens in British Columbia. The need is unbelievable. We have seen a 57% increase in food banks under David Eby and what has happened in British Columbia. Like I say, and the worst part is we've also seen a 30% reduction in donations because people are struggling just to put food on their own table. So government needs to step up to the plate in this. There's so much that we need to do for our economy and everything else, but of the short term, we have to make sure we look after people. So that's an announcement we made today that we're going to commit to make sure that we have money on an annual basis to be able to support our food banks and community kitchens for people in British Columbia. I want to end with two more things. First of all, in our education system, SOGI's got to go, okay? We've got to get to a place... We got to get to a place where we make sure we got a very strong anti-bullying and support program in place so that all children are feeling safe in our schools. All children can be welcome and have that support they need. But the biggest thing we need to do in the education system is we actually have to start making sure that it's teaching kids how to think, not what to think. And it'll be a big shift for education in BC. The last thing I want to just close with is healthcare, because our healthcare system, as I mentioned, is collapsing. It's in a crisis. Whether it's finding a family doctor, whether it's the 10, 12-hour waits for emergency rooms, or if you can even get in with the emergency room closures that are all across this province that are happening. For example, just in Merritt alone, between now and Christmas, that's going to have 32 more days scheduled not to be open as an emergency room. And you can imagine what that's like for any community across the province not being able to have that kind of access. So our healthcare system's got to go through a big change. We are the second most expensive in the 30 most developed countries in the nation, yet we get the second worst outcomes. And it's not because of our professionals. Our professionals are doing everything they can. They provide some of the best quality service. But we don't have the same technology that other countries do. We just don't have a system that is working for people. So that's why we're doing a patients first system where it's going to be the money's going to follow the patient as opposed to the system itself. And it's going to be universal health care so that everybody has access to it, just like it is today, government paid, but it'll be delivered by both government and non-government agencies. And by doing that, that'll help us to be able to retain doctors and to be able to attract new doctors and healthcare professionals in BC and to be able to make sure that we got the services we desperately want. Another flight coming in. And I just want to say, that shift I think is a very important component we need in BC, but there's something locally I think we need too. And that is the hospital here has been fighting for an MRI for years. The government has refused to fund it. We will fund an MRI for the community right here in the hospital here in Coquitlam. These are important things that need to be done. I mean, we got to build homes. We got to get the government out of the way. We got to structure all that. We've got to make sure that we unleash our economy. There is so much delay and drag from what government does in British Columbia. It takes 3 months to get permit across the border if you want to build something as simple as a warehouse, and it could take 2 to 3 years here in British Columbia. This is ridiculous. There's so much bureaucracy that's to be built up. We got to strip it away and unleash our economy, drive investment, and most importantly, drive it so that we can see profits that drive wage growth, because we can only do so much with taxation to be able to help with affordability, and it is the biggest issue we're facing in the province. We need to make sure that people can invest in this province, that there's a reasonable expectation for return, but most importantly, so that they can pay the wages that are needed in this province so people can afford to live here. 1 in 2 youth are thinking about leaving BC. That's our future. That's everyone's kids, the grandkids. This is what we need to do. We need to make sure they can see a future here. And Bruce Banman put it best. And I wasn't unfortunate enough to be able to have children. My wife and I have got 6 nieces and nephews. I've got a couple of grandnieces and nephews. But Bruce Banman put it best. He said, look, he had 3 grandchildren. 2 now have left the country for other jobs. One is 11 years old. And he said he wants to make sure that we do everything we can, because he doesn't want to come to a day where he's helping his grandson pack his bags. And the grandson turns to him and says, why didn't you fight for us? That is why we need to change, folks. We need to build a future for people in British Columbia. We need to make sure that there's hope, that there's prosperity, and that we can bring just common sense back to British Columbia. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Thanks for being involved in our campaign.
All right, let's give it up for the future Premier of British Columbia.